So here we are again in between holidays. We found the time to sit together, Shimi, for number 15, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't have the time to think about a topic, but I am happy you did, right?
Yeah, I think the topic I was thinking about was how obviously AI, sorry everyone, how it kind of affects the product slash design phase, I would say. So if you think double diamond, you clearly have the problem and the solution space. But I think in the solution space, that's where the developers are, they develop, but in the problem space as well, I think there, what I see happening is that in the past you would have, stakeholders would come up with, or product people would come up with a feature, it would get spec'd, then you would have designers working on it, quite an asynchronous process that could take up quite some time. What I see nowadays is that phase, or what I maybe believe is that that phase is shortening very quickly as well, where you can use tools like Claude Design. I don't know if you use it. I've used it quite
Yeah, I did.
extensively
Yeah.
on the Mossy application. It shortcuts it very fast. With the stakeholders, with product, you can iterate quickly on set prototypes and that design. And I'm really wondering what does it mean for design? I still think you kind of need design, but maybe more to set up the framework, set up the system, and less so to
Yeah,
flesh out every feature.
I have strong opinion on that. I had the luck to work with some very exceptional designers in the past, like very good ones. And I think the problem I see, and first of all, I don't think we have to excuse ourselves talking about AI because that's how our industry is today. So we should stop doing that. Anyway, I do believe that design is even more important, maybe. But yeah, of course, what's the definition of design, right? There's a couple of things to it. First of all, the visual side of things. One of the things that you see today is that, and I think Tailwind already started that, and even Bootstrap before that already started that, is that unification of designs, right? Which is sad because the freedom of design is a bit gone. Everyone expects the interface to be more or less the same. You see some exceptions to that rule, and I'm happy to see them. But that's one of the trends you see today, that everything looks the same, right? That also means that there is indeed very little design involved. But of course, there's two elements to design. There is the UX design, user experience, and the visual design. I think the visual design and the experience of the individual components, those are solved indeed by Tailwind, by material design, by whatever you use. But I think the UX, and that's where lots of the AI also still goes wrong. The UX still has lots of flaws and lots of issues, especially also with AI. I don't think it's a good UX designer. So I think there is, first of all, a very big opportunity for good UI designers to come up with unique interfaces that are not just what's out there. And second, also for UX designers, I think an application can really make a difference with good UX. So I so strongly believe in that.
Maybe to come to touch on your first point. So in the past, we used Tailwind Bootstrap because it took a long time to implement things, right? In a way, what you're saying is there's an opportunity there now as well because development would take less time to come up with something more unique. I think that's something we should encourage. And then your second point, I still agree that you need good designers. You need, especially you want to be standing out right nowadays because if everybody can code this fast, build something this fast, you need to stand out. The what you're doing matters and how you're doing it. But I do think that as a designer, you will work less in Figma. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
You will work less
I
with. I'm gonna be like spending an hour or 2 hours like fleshing out. Like you can leverage AI to come and talk with your stakeholders to come up with solutions or prototypes a lot faster. I think
for
that's maybe the
prototyping
point.
for sure.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, how I did it even now, 10 years ago at customers, is I told people to stop using Sketch. It was back in the days, maybe already a bit of Figma, I don't remember. But to basically implement a design system, of course, you have to design the design system, but then implement the design system in React, and then prototype is React, right? Because in the end, you could then just take the prototype that was with dummy data and then just put a backend underneath it, and it was just functional, right? And it was pixel perfect how it was designed by the designer. So for me, a good designer, even 10 years ago, was already someone who could implement it into HTML, into CSS, especially for web, of course, and go that length. And I think that's where the designer back then they made the difference. And I think today still, if they understand that, they can even push it further and even get into production, making design changes in production
Yep.
without worrying, right?
Yep. I think I completely agree with that. I think that's the direction we're going in, and I think it's a cool direction. Of course, it raises the bar again, right? Just with developers, we've
For me,
talked about that.
the problem is a bit that because it's so easy to design, but it's the same with code, right? Because it's so easy to design, so easy to code. It's very simple for people to make stuff, to prototype, to make things that visually look fine, but they are not user tested. They didn't think about the flows, and that way we're making software like we did 15 years ago, where we're just making stuff because that we thought would make sense, rather than to talk with customers and look at behavior of customers to implement things in the right way. So I do believe for prototyping, for building a version, that's possible, but true good software still stands out in terms of interface, and I don't think you can achieve that. I mean, you can achieve that by prompting those tools very well, but you still need to understand user interfaces and user experience design.
Yeah, exactly. No, I fully agree with that. Again, the doing the research in what you want to build and how you want it to look, etc. It's going to be super important. Just building for the
Yeah, and it's
sake of
something that
building
has
is, yeah,
always been forgotten, right? Or ignored, let's say, doing proper user research.
yeah.
And
We've had it in the past where we said to clients, obviously we're development, like we help with development, but we said to clients, hey, you need to go back to the drawing table. There's no point in starting, building this if you haven't tested it, if you don't have product
yeah,
market
but
fit.
AI is not going to tell you that, right?
No, they're just gonna build it.
Yeah, and then the problem is that you're building stuff that is not very user friendly, for example, or just totally. Man, if you look at the design and design system, your guy is just a yes man at building stuff like we would do as developers 15 years ago. We would just build because we can build, right? We don't think about what we're building, why we're building, who we're building it for, and what kind of problem we're solving. I always give the example. I mean, I was just complaining to you. I went on holiday just now by train, and the trains got delayed, and the people on the train couldn't give you an answer. So you call the service desk, you get a robot on the line, you have to explain your problem. It's a German robot on the line. You have to explain your problem. You explain it in English, and yes, and then basically what it did is just repeated my question, and then said, "Okay, thank you for calling us today. I hope you were helped by this." I mean, like, so that's also user experience designs, right? So
Yeah,
people don't
yeah,
think, they just build things because they can, but they don't think about actually what the actual user wants to use. And sometimes it's something totally different than AI can come up with, or what a product manager can come up with, because they haven't listened to their users.
yeah. I think that's a good note to end it on, like how the Deutsche Bahn, it's not one of
What
the
was
best
that?
train.
Austrian railway company. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Um,
Cool.
cool. Anyway, thanks a lot. I think we see each other again in 3 weeks because I'm on holiday for 2 weeks, but we'll make sure to record an episode then. So yeah, I hope you have another great topic to discuss at that time. Cool. Have a good one. Enjoy the nice weather, everyone. Bye bye.
Cheers.